Hi, John.
Hello.
Do you know what I hate?
What do you hate?
The Suicide Squad that was directed by David Ayer.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we did a whole episode about it.
Yes. You know what we should do an episode on now?
What's that?
The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. I was effusive on my Twitter saying that this movie is exponentially better than the David Ayers one.
Mm-hmm.
In no way, shape, or form am I saying that this is a good movie. What I'm saying is that it took one of the worst movies I've seen that has a big budget to being a very uneven, though when enjoyable movie. Like there's the highs in this movie, I think are terrific. There's some really fun scenes in here. It's also too long. It drags. It's a little obvious at times. There's a lot wrong with it. But if this were the first Suicide Squad, like before the Ayers one, I'd be like, oh, this is a good foundation. Cool. Now I like this idea of every now and again, we'll just put a ragtag group together, get them killed. It's fun. Yeah, good foundational thing. Yeah.
So I am interested, and even though I believe I explicitly said on that episode that I would not watch it, David Ayer wrote a whole thing that was like, the movie that came out was not my movie. I think it was like in the wake of the Snyder Cut thing, just probably trying to get an Ayers cut put together. I would watch it simply because after the Snyder Cut, I'm just curious. This
is true.
It made me just more okay, what was the movie that you actually made? I still think it's probably gonna be garbage, but I am still curious about it.
I bet you it was cohesive garbage, though.
Yes. Yeah. That being said, I'm inclined to agree. I think this, I've talked about for a long time about how I want comic movies to do more with the genre. Like, you've done the fighting, the laser going into space. Let's do something with these established characters, these established archetypes, something fun with it. And they made a splatter movie out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of rules. And I wish I liked this movie more. I'm stoked that this exists. That this is out there, that they had enough confidence in James Gunn to be because these aren't necessarily beloved characters, but just take this property and do some weird shit with it and whatever. And it seemed like he had a certain amount of freedom with that, where Marvel, you can feel every corporate decision every time in every cut and every every choice on the screen. I liked that was a freeing thing, but yeah, I think the end product is messy. I think it's and not just because of the gore, but yeah, it is entirely too long. I have some of the same problems with it that I did with Super, in terms of James Gunn finding emotional levels, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think there's even some problems I have with it that mirror the original, this unearned growth and shit like that. But I do think, like you said, when it's fun, it's really fun. And I kind of wish, it almost feels like some of the early 2000s, if you've ever seen any of the Japanese filmmaker Takashi Miike stuff, like the Ichi the Killer.
Oh, totally, yeah.
That kind of that just gritty, grimy, just exploitive stuff that's ridiculous. But then it tries to have a heart and stuff, and that just totally doesn't work.
Yeah.
And entirely too long.
It's too long. There's no doubt about that.
And there's a specific complaint I have at why it's too long, but we'll get into that later.
Well, let's do it a little bit in order here. Bonus episode, so I don't think we're beholden to our normal whatevers. But I love the opening act. I love the entire setup with one caveat. I've already seen Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 does the same joke.
Okay.
Of he puts together the X-Force in Deadpool 2, and then they all die while parachuting onto the mission, and him and Domino are the only ones left.
Nice.
But they do the whole interviewing people, team build, you get to know the characters, and then they all get horrifically slaughtered. They
do the same thing in MacGruber.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah. Exact same joke.
But I do love for because this was one of my early notes too. For is hyped as this person's in it, this person's in it, and this person's in it. That you were saying at the beginning. That I was like, oh my god, enough with this. I don't like Pete Davidson, and I have a thing with Pete Davidson that I think is very much like Felicia Day, where it's if you were in certain circles at a certain time on the internet, where it's I'm so fucking tired of Felicia Day. I'm so tired of seeing Felicia Day everywhere. But an average human being is who the hell are you talking about? But I felt like there was this push to make Pete Davidson a thing.
Very much agree with you.
And I don't like him. I don't think he's mildly funny. The bits I've seen him on Saturday Night Live, he looks like a fish. I don't know. I don't like him. And so when I see he's in this, I'm like, oh my God. And then when they immediately just blow his face off, hell yes.
Terrific. I just love that as a setup. I went, oh, but those are the ones I knew. Idris Elba, I guess you sort of knew, was in it.
Yeah, but also, the way they deal with Michael Rooker, because it opens with him in the prison, bouncing the ball, whatever. And the Michael Rooker thing is always funny to me, simply because you have this whole generation of people that know him as being one of the Ravagers from Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. That dude is forever, to me, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yeah.
I would love to sit down with a big Marvel head that's never seen that movie and watch that movie with them just to see what they think, because that's so gritty and awful, but he's so amazing in it.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that this hellish human being in that movie is now this like has action figures.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. He was also Daryl's shitty meth head brother in the first season of The Walking Dead.
That's right. That's
which
right.
I think a lot of people would know him. Yeah, it's kind of like, and I'm one of this generation, but people slightly older than me, what they think of with Hugo Weaving. So for me, it's The Matrix, it's Elrond. But people slightly older, he was in like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yeah.
He's like this big, jaunty, funny, like gap tooth kind of fun guy. And I'm like, no, he's a serious, this is like.
Well, that's I was having a discussion with a friend the other day about Once Upon a Time in the West and how Henry Fonda in that movie plays the bad guy. And it's like, yeah, but Henry Fonda's the bad guy. I've never seen a fucking Henry Fonda movie.
Totally,
so I just see him like, this guy's a kick-ass bad guy.
So I love that. The early stuff I also liked. The detachable kid was a great joke. I have a bunch of notes in the beginning because I think this movie has a really strong beginning, and there's parts in the middle that we have to skip by because it's just a slog nothing. Yeah.
Well, so I think, and I was so impressed with this compared to the first movie. I remember being very irritated that like we're spending 40 minutes on setup and learning who these characters are, not really all the stuff. This movie gives you the plot so quick.
Oh, it's a paragraph.
It's so quick, and it's very expediently done, and it's wonderfully done. They do that through Michael Rooker's character of like we're putting a bomb in your head. You got to go do this. You'll get 10 years off your sentence. The end. Like, and it's an established thing that you're a part of. Go do it. And so I like that sort of expediency of storytelling of like, particularly now where it's like you're familiar enough with these kind of high concept things. We can just say that, and you're good.
Yeah.
And yeah, that opening was a lot of fun because you get introduced to all these characters. One of the things that I also don't like, and this is kind of indicative of a lot of what I don't like about this movie, and kind of James Gunn in general, is that James Gunn kind of has this almost bare naked ladies level of self-satisfaction, or like, look at how clever I'm being. But like they just, I don't know, there kept being these jokes and stuff like that would happen. That just is like,
Weasel
is something else.
When he gets out of the plane, and just goes. I found that very fun. I even wrote Weasel is our king. He will miss every ring. That's why we all sing Weasel is our king.
I don't know.
It's Harry Potter.
I'm sure it is.
Ron Weasley, he was a goalkeeper in the Quidditch.
And they wrote a song about him.
Yeah, and they sang it facetiously. See, this guy's name is Weasel as well. The Weasel thing, I liked it just yelling and being horrible. But it didn't land for me. I still find it weird that like a Jim Carroll song can be in a big Hollywood movie.
Well, it's also when it's about people, and I think that's just kind of a getting older thing where it's like he wrote a song about his friends that died, and now you're putting it in a comic book movie.
Yeah,
but also he wrote a song about his friends dying, so whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. And then so that ends a nice little button on the pre-title card of Michael Rooker gets his head blown off.
Yeah, everyone gets blown up. And that was the thing also I got real tired of, though, is I liked in that initial thing where his blood becomes the title, some on-screen text. That just got really old after a while.
Yeah,
like it got increasingly less cute. And it just, we're committed to it, though. It isn't this clever and adorable.
I did like at the end there, though, a bird lands on Michael Rooker's skull and starts eating his open brain.
Yeah.
That's a fun circle.
You can totally see Gunn's trauma background in this.
There's a lot of trauma
to great
in this.
effect. Like, the parts about trauma that are great, he uses great, but then there's a lot of stuff about trauma that's bad.
There was a delightful spot where they're storming the beach and shotgun guy shoots somebody and then it hits two people at once and forms a circle in between their torsos.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what a great bit of gore.
It's disgusting. Yeah, the gore is fantastic. And talking about the detachable kid thing, even that little banter going to the drop off point of these villains getting to know who each other are and like, what kind of dog do you think that is and whatever, and who is TDK? That's fun. And like when TDK, you find out he's the detachable kid, his arms just pop off. How dumb those look! Like perfectly, like how they don't fly through the air, they just kind of glide and then they go kind of slap people around. Yeah. Just expertly done, very hilarious. And I wanted more of that tone throughout this entire movie, and it's a tough thing to keep at that level. But they really dropped the ball on that.
See, there's some more of those moments. So all right, so after that we meet Idris Elba. He's locked up and it's basically Waller's like, look, I'm going to put your kid in jail unless you join the Suicide Squad.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
he's not Deadshot.
no.
That's who his character is.
Yeah,
He's not
he's a badass.
Deadshot.
Now, but there's a great joke about that. So the first person he meets on a Suicide Squad is John Cena. And it's like, well, we put together a squad for everybody with your unique abilities. And he's like, what's his? Well, he's like, he was raised by a military guy. He's great at every kind of weapon. He's good. He's like, so he's me. It's the same power set as me. But I think that's a joke about him being Bloodshot.
Yeah,
Like it's
or Deadshot.
Deadshot,
yeah.
sorry. But I really like John Cena here. One, I think comedically he does a great job in this movie. But where he's like, he does the same thing. He's like, no, I'll do it better. He's like, well, I shoot people in dead center. He's like, I shoot it more in the center.
Yeah.
I use tiny bullets that go inside of your bullet holes. But what a setup, because I did not think that was Godard's tiny bullet joke.
Right.
But that paying off at the end was so. I think John Cena really won this movie.
I think John Cena is great. I think he's one of the rare like wrestlers that got into acting that I think can do it. I think he's very charming and
If he's
and has a
cast well,
presence.
like
Yeah.
this is great. Yeah.
I do think and this is not his fault, but someone pointed out that he looks like a roided up Jim Varney, and I can't not see that now.
I can
That
see
if
that.
you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
to evolve your Jim Varney Pokemon into John Cena. But that doesn't excuse it though, to me. Like it's a fun throwaway gag, but like you made the character Deadshot again. Oh, you have a daughter that you care about, and it's flimsy. It doesn't matter for like ultimately for this movie, but it felt
Yeah.
like you couldn't get Will Smith, and so you just made this not Will Smith character.
Yeah,
and
fair
it
enough.
just-
Yeah.
I don't know. You could have done anything. Even just make it a young boy. You know what I mean? Like just something to try to make it not the exact same
Well.
character. But whatever. It's enough of a reason that he's got to go in and be a part of this. He's got that. Amanda Waller, still awesomely played by Viola Davis, has something on him to make him go be a part of this because he doesn't want to. Because you find out that the whole squad that gets sent in the first part was just a distraction.
Yeah, for the real squad.
team.
Yeah,
Why would you send Flag on that?
well, I think the idea is she kind of knew Flag would survive. I think the deal is it's just like, hell, he'll be fine. And just all these other idiots will,
But
because you
also,
need
like-
them to do a good enough job to be a distraction.
But
So-
the same thing happens in the first one too, where it's like, well, now we have to go save Flag before we can go do anything else.
Yes.
So is this movie a remake? Is it a sequel? Because it's just called The Suicide Squad, and I imagine you are not tapped into.
It's a soft reboot.
Okay, because like if you are just a person, you're like, wait, didn't that movie come out already?
Yeah.
How do you explain to them what this is?
I think this is a soft reboot. The events of the first movie happened. They just don't matter. So we were introduced to the Peacemaker, John Cena, Ratcatcher 2, which I like. Ratcatcher 1 died. Funny. Shark King,
King Shark.
King Shark, whatever. Much, much better on the Harley Quinn cartoon played by Ron Funches.
I would imagine.
He does it in this big, like, oh, look at you guys. You look so
Yeah.
tasty. It's
This
like
was-
this
this
fun
was-
up.
Such a low point of the movie for me.
King Shark?
King Shark.
King Shark, not a fan. Polka Dot Man, played by David Dastmalchian or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Love him as a character. Love him as an actor. Every part of him I thought was delightful.
Absolutely.
The best jokes in the movie come from him. And we find out that Project Starfish, which is something that's happened in the comics, is happening at the Jotunheim facility on Malta Cortese, which is where they're going.
Colto Martiz.
Whatever, who gives a shit? I think that's pretty much the setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to add real quick before we get out of it. They murdered Captain Boomerang, and that made me so happy.
Oh, right. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I was
because like
not
I hated
expecting that.
Captain Boomerang. And in fact, I said in the Suicide Squad episode that like when they just randomly killed Slipknot or whatever, that they should have just killed him because then you have this established character that would be interesting. That they did that. James Gunn clearly listens to the podcast because I'm the only person that could ever have this idea.
Yeah.
But I hats off for you for actually doing that.
If I may, even though I do kind of want to defend this movie a little bit, let me take back your compliment. I don't think they killed him because remember the boomerang flies around and his dead, in quotes, hand catches it. Well, a dead hand catches a boomerang in a comic book movie.
Yeah, oh yeah. No one's dead, but I also just like that visual gag though of it's still.
Oh no,
it's
100%.
still, like,
I was not expecting. That's what the first act is so strong for me. I love that setup. I love everybody getting killed.
So they're going to Corto Maltese because there's been this there's this research thing that's happening there, but there's also all this political intrigue that's been going on in government overthrows, whatever. And while Amanda Waller is talking and explaining this, there's footage behind her of a family that's being hung, including a small child.
Oh yeah.
And it's just there. And again, I'm like, this movie's going for it. Like it's already given you a whole bunch of gore, but it's also not going to try to be and there's references to like Weasel killing people,
Weasel
killing
eats children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm kind of, not that I like hooray for dead children, but like
No, but
you went for it.
Hooray
Like,
for a movie doing it.
yeah, you're
exactly.
still you committed to the bit.
There's a terrific sequence here, which again, it's just more me complimenting John Cena, where Idris Elba tells him to eat a bag of dicks. He's like, you know what? If Liberty asked me to eat a bag of dicks, put this entire beach full of dicks, and I'll eat every one of them up. I'll numb them. And it's like, you just want an excuse to eat dicks. And then
Yeah.
like it's such a good rapport. Idris Elba is underused in the role and probably miscast.
Yeah.
But when he fucked up and actually allowed himself to be charming, he was charming, and that was one of the spots.
I did like him occasionally, but in general, I wasn't that stoked. I hate Ratcatcher. I dislike
John.
Ratcatcher,
John.
and I'll tell you what, and I think this has to do with James Gunn
Yeah.
and his like trying to like have an emotional heart to this thing. It doesn't work. I don't think she's an interesting character. I think she's like, I'm sleepy and kind of pouty. That's a character. This is my character.
I couldn't disagree more.
Oh,
One,
I hate her.
her dad is Taika Waititi,
So what?
which is great. Two, she's the most attractive person I've ever seen in my life. I've never had a bigger crush on a human being
Yeah.
in real life. Like, I agree with the points you just made about like the thing I should be doing on the
Yeah.
show where I talk about the movie, but no, she's a very pretty lady and her eyes made me feel things. I was
that's
looking at her
the thing.
eyes
It's
and
like-
like, your eyes make me feel things.
It's like that Letterboxd review that was going around with like Amelie. What if a hot girl was shy? And
Yeah.
like that's how I feel about this character, where it's like, I'm Ratcatcher.
She's also sleeps a lot.
I'm so sleepy.
No, she's not sleepy. She's got like narcolepsy.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
way to be
She
ableist,
sucks.
dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you go eat a bag of dicks, you
Yeah.
ableist fuck?
I think this, which is overall, in a different way, I think this movie is bad with women characters in general. Not in a uniform way.
No.
I say that because Harley Quinn shouldn't be in this movie. She has no business being in this movie. She feels completely tacked on. And I think, as much as I don't like that character, I am on record saying I don't like that character in general. I think Margot Robbie owns that character. I think she took a stupid character and made it something else. You could lose a half hour out of this movie if you got rid of all of her bullshit, and it would be a better movie for it.
I do agree with you, and I hate that I agree with you because I love her in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think she does a great job. I think I literally have one of my notes here is Margot Robbie is a national treasure. Like, she is so great at that role. Like, rarely has someone owned a role so well. But it doesn't really fit in the film.
It doesn't fit in the film. It doesn't add anything to it. That's why I asked you since not having seen Birds of Prey, if I missed something. Because like why should I care about her? Why do I give a shit about anything that she's doing in this movie?
Well, yeah. See, the problem there is I love her from Batman the Animated Series already.
Mm-hmm.
So I already have like a love of the character on that. In Birds of Prey, she very much becomes like her own woman kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I wouldn't watch that one.
I think you would like it. I know you would like it more than her other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she does a good job in scenes that don't really need to be in the film.
Yeah.
That part where she meets the kind of lead general guy or whatever, that's the president of the country, where she just picks up on like, you know, him killing children or whatever, and she just shoots him. He's like, look, I know normally I wouldn't do this, and like, you know, like her learning from breaking up with Mr. J. I'm like, oh, that's good character building, but also not for this movie.
No,
it doesn't need it. Like, if that was in a movie where Harley Quinn goes to South America and this happens, I love this scene, but it doesn't.
That's an example to me of it felt like that kind of like self-satisfied, like, oh, you weren't expecting that, huh? I look what I did. It feels like that Red Letter Media, like Rian Johnson ordering a glass of wine. He just pours the bottle out on the table. It's like ha 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 because I subverted your expectations. It just felt like very telegraphed that this was. I thought that maybe the Joker was going to show up. And hats off for James Gunn to not include fucking Jared Leto anywhere near this.
Yes.
But just that whole plot line was like, you could have achieved the same things any other way. Like not even have that president character. It was a shaggy dog story that didn't need to be there. And then it involves like she needs to get rescued, but she doesn't because she has this scene where she sees flowers everywhere for whatever reason. And I don't fucking care. I'm like, at that point I paused the movie and I'm like, there's 40 minutes left in this movie. What the fuck is happening?
I'm nowhere near on the same level with you. I just thought it was like a bit of a waste of time. I thought that first act was breezy enough that I didn't like. I was fine wasting 8 minutes or whatever it was with Harley and the president guy. But yeah, no, it doesn't. It overall it doesn't fit in the movie, and the movie's worse for it. But I think that sequence, like, divorce yourself from watching the movie and just watch the sequence of Harley escaping and there's fucking flowers everywhere. It's a cool sequence. It just doesn't work in the film.
Right. And that's my problem. I think if it was just that bit at the beginning, like with the president, and something actually like realistic, or not realistic, but something that matters came from that in terms of the story, then it'd be a little bit more interesting. But it just felt like this aside, like, here's the Suicide Squad story, and then Harley's got her own movie going on over here, and then eventually they're gonna get together. I think if it was just that scene, I'd be fine with it. It was fun, but it's more of a larger issue with Harley in the movie as a whole.
The thing I liked about Harley, I mean, obviously I liked her scenes, but it doesn't need to be the movie. I wish there was some way to not have her in the movie, but also keep the javelin runner, because I really like that, of her thinking this is like some sign from like this mystical object, and it's just some D tier guy that throws a javelin well, and she takes it as this holy grail quest from God. This is going to solve everything. And it doesn't do anything. Yeah. Literally the entire, I love that as a runner. Like,
see, I did. It felt like Super. It felt like The Wrench. It just felt like I knew what was going to, like, okay, and then she's going to come up and use the javelin, and she does. Okay. I don't know. It didn't do anything.
But Super didn't have Rainn Wilson fall into a giant starfish eyeball and go swimming in a weird, I don't know. But, this is what I'm saying about, like, keeping that level is tough, because like 2 hours in, I'm like, it's like wearing 3D glasses in a movie. At a certain point, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not feeling this anymore. Yeah. All right. So,
but one more thing I will say while we're on the Harley tip. So her background, if I'm understanding this correctly, she is a psychiatrist that got like hornswoggled by the Joker, and like, he got into her mind, messed with her mind, unlocked something in there, something like that. So she's crazy now.
Well, she was like a really severely disturbed young person that went into psychiatry.
Okay.
I mean, just to be fair, it's not as like she was 100% mentally sound. And
No, but
she had a shitty dad that beat her, went into psychology. Then she seems to be normal. Dr. Harleen Quinzel meets the Joker, and then,
Where did she learn to fight?
Joker taught her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that explained in one of the movies? Because when she's doing that whole John Wick scene, and I know we talked about in Flash Gordon how I loved it that the lady did the one like hand flip in the thing. But she's doing this whole John Wick thing. I'm like, she's a psychiatrist.
I'm so far off. I think her learning how to fight may be in one of the comics I read. But you're right. It's not.
It doesn't matter. But it was something that I just couldn't help but think about.
It's the problem with where we're not meeting is I'm bringing so much more to the character from having read a bunch of comics about it, because I like Harley. You're correct, because I'm filling in backstory from extra textual sources is incorrect. But I stand by that. I say that same thing. Like, you watching Lord of the Rings, I cannot have a fucking Silmarillion reference unless it's explained. That's bullshit. You can't expect me to read a whole other thing and think it's a good movie. And it's the same thing where I'm tainted by this. I'm tainted by backstory.
Well, we talked about this with it's an odd reference to make, but with Magnolia. We're like, I don't know what's his name, Charles Fort is, the Raining Frogs guy. I don't know who that is. And all of a sudden it's Raining Frogs. I'm supposed to know what that is.
Well, I mean, that's you being a fucking idiot. I mean, that's you being just a drooling. I've made funny in a bit.
But I'm just saying, like it's a superhero movie. It doesn't matter. But it's something I couldn't help but think about it. Because I always liked in where the Joker's like not really a great fighter. That's why he has to do all this other stuff. But when she's doing John Wick stuff, it's just whatever. And it's like she's like that in the Batman games. It doesn't matter. It's just a thought I had.
Swear there's I'm struggling to remember, but Joker didn't teach her. That was totally wrong. But she learned it at some. I read some. Who gives a shit?
I'm sure she did. Yeah. It's fine. This is a movie about sending criminals to go do the U.S.'s dirty work.
All right, so on the bus they do all their backstories, which is way too forced. Really didn't like it, except for the high point of getting Polka Dot Man's backstory.
Yes.
That basically he hates his mom. And there's been kind of mom runners, I think, before this, definitely afterwards. But we get a Polka Dot Man eye view of the bus, and every person there is his mother's face.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's been done before, but boy,
it's great.
That was
it's a solid joke. Which going back to that, talking about extra textural stuff.
Yeah.
This is when it works really well. So when you're introduced to Polka Dot Man, there's this sort of flashback of them getting ready. And is it Sean Gunn? Is that James Gunn's brother?
I believe so. Yeah.
So he's another prisoner there, and he's like yelling at Polka Dot Man about how lame he is. He's the calendar man. Like he has tattooed on his head the calendar.
Oh, I
dates.
didn't pick up on that. That's
and
awesome.
so it's like, oh, it's just an inmate big shit. But if you know that it's Calendar Man,
well
that's
done, John.
hilarious.
Well done, John. That is terrific.
That's wonderful.
I was wondering. I was about to write Polka Dot Man kills James Gunn's brother because I was expecting that to happen and it didn't. I totally didn't. That's why that scene happened.
that's just like a funny, like that's how lame Polka Dot Man is, that the Calendar Man is.
Oh, that's so great.
But
Yeah,
like there, and I do like that they don't bother to explain that. Or like there's other characters that I'm sure if you know DC, you know who they are. Like I don't know who the stained glass wound was when they go into the women's prison. It's like stands up. But I'm like, that character looks awesome. I would like to know more about her.
Yeah.
Thank you for not telling me though, because I'd like to just live in wonder.
I don't remember her. I know I've read that character on one of those lists of things, dumbest characters.
And I'm sure there's like a billion articles out already about all the different.
So they end up at a strip club.
Yeah, I have a question about that.
Well, just really quick, because I'm going to forget to say it, and I just want to show off. I noticed Palm Clementif or whatever her name is. Mantis was one of the strippers there. Mantis from yes.
I did not notice
because
that.
one of the people on Twitter, and it sounds like I'm yelling at them. I'm not at all. This was actually
that's what Twitter's for.
No, but he picked up on that. There's a Lloyd Kaufman. He's in this somewhere. And I 100% missed it. So I'm sure I missed a shitload of cameos.
Yeah.
So I'm just more patting myself on the back that I caught that one, even though she's center frame and is this beautiful, weird looking woman that is kind of hard not to notice her. But anyway, yes.
But I think that's awesome and speaks to that kind of thing of like, if you know, you know, and if you don't, it's fine. And I think that's great. Yeah, they specifically say, because they're after the Thinker, played by Peter Capaldi, who I always love.
Yes. Hey, you know what he was in?
Yeah, The Thick of It, which is a great show.
Exactly, Doctor Who. So let me talk about Doctor Who for
no,
a minute.
let's absolutely not.
All right, okay, I'll talk about Harry Potter.
Are you sure he's not in Harry Potter? Yeah.
He might be, actually.
But like they're able to figure out, because he's been running this Project Jotunheim in the Jotunheim building, the Operation Starfish, that he goes to a gentleman's club, right? And you said it yourself, gentleman's club, to you, to me, strip club, right?
Yeah.
That's not where they go at all. They go to a bar, and then there's some people dancing in the bar. That's not a strip club.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But I was just like, for a movie that's so like, yeah, here's a bunch of people's heads exploding.
No,
why didn't you pull?
No, they were strippers because they walk in the back.
They walk in the back, but like you don't. But they're in a bar. You know what I mean? Like there doesn't seem like there's some women dancing on a stage.
Yeah,
it's just never. It doesn't feel like a strip club. Is all I'm saying.
My only strip club experience are in Portland, which very much felt like that, where it's just kind of a bar and there's just weirdly naked people.
Oh, see, the only one I've been to in Portland, the strippers were too drunk to go on, so it didn't even matter.
No, I've been to like two, and like both of them were like a bar I'd normally go in, except for like somewhere in the back, some lady has her shirt off.
Right, there's strippers. You don't see that. You see a group of women kind of, for like one shot of some women dancing on a stage that seems like they're like a pop act or something.
Okay.
It ultimately doesn't matter, but it was just a thing. I'm like, that's weird to pull your punches on that when you're so into everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we skipped over the whole getting the flag thing because that's a great scene.
Getting the flag?
Getting to Flag. So they know that Flag is still alive from the diversion squad, Rick Flag or whatever his name is.
Yes, correct.
And so they need to go get him. They're told by Waller to go get him. And when they do, there's this awesome murder off between.
Oh, that's right. That is a terrific
between
sequence.
not Deadshot and John Cena.
Yeah.
And it is psychotic.
Yeah, it's so good.
Wonderfully psychotic.
Oh yeah,
and like they're just like the scene where like the bit where he's just walking by the guy sleeping. He's just stab, just casually.
I never laugh out loud, and that literally made me laugh out loud.
And again, I'm like, this is a comic book movie, and you're doing this, and you're just owning it, and it's wonderful. And
somebody's just getting lit on fire, and I like that. That leads to, hey, welcome to the Liberation Army. All of our friends outside are here to fight it. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, that they killed the rebels.
Yeah, that's really
Which is also, I mean, I don't want to get too political for a fucking comic movie, but I do, there is a through line of like the U.S. getting involved with South American things and really fucking shit up. Oh, we went into to be free, to spread freedom and all this stuff. And we just murdered all the rebels, right-wing death squads, all that stuff. So I thought I got kind of a kick out of that, and I think the movie knew what it was doing with that.
Yeah, I don't think that was. Yeah, I don't think they were hiding there. Yeah, you're totally right. I'm glad you brought that up. That kill off was really terrific. Back at the bar, just one small point I need to make. Going back to David Dastmalchian, Mr. Polka Dot Man.
Yes.
When they're drunk and everybody's dancing. And then you see from his eye view that everybody looks like his mom.
Yeah.
And he's sexy humping his mom dancing.
Yeah.
Is way to go, James Gunn. Like, way to not fucking tone that down.
Yeah. You like, that's kind of the shit that I loved with this, where it's like, you got fucking weird with it. and you were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that rules. As we get more towards the end, I think like I complained before about the heart of the movie frankly shouldn't exist, basically. Or at least is so mawkish that I don't think it works. When it's this stuff, when it's just the gory, it feels like reading a fucking Garth Ennis comic.
Yeah,
it feels like it's reveling in this like teenage id of it, where it's like, well, yeah, it's adult, but it's teenager adult. It's
trauma. It's stupid. I mean, Mia K is a great way to put it. Which is, I love that shit when I was, kind of just getting into high school.
Yeah.
Like just let's open with a shot of a dude coming the title. Like, let's have someone get chopped in half by this weird Japanese incel dude. Like, it's such a perverted, dumb, over the top,
very visceral,
16.
and
It's great. And this movie has so much of that I'm tempted to ignore some of the other stuff. But so this is where we meet Peter Capaldi, who looks terrific with the dumbest things hanging out of his head.
He's just got a bunch of like cathode ray tubes hanging out of his head. And what I love is that he goes into the fucking bar and no one has an opinion about
He's
that.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, but just like no one ever has. I mean, there's that one general guy that's like, that shit helps you think or whatever.
Yeah.
But just what a ridiculous costume.
So they steal Capaldi. They break out. There's a whole car chase sequence. Now this intercuts with Harley after she got caught. She was being tortured. And this is where the breakout sequence with the flowers that you referenced earlier.
I will say the one bit about this that I did like is his subversion of David Ayer's fucking bullshit yoga poses in the thing. It was like almost a two-pronged attack on David Ayer and Quentin Tarantino, where you have, hey, you want to see close-ups of Margot Robbie's feet? I'll show you close-ups of Margot Robbie's feet, where she takes the key.
Oh yeah.
Flips upwards because she's hanging from manacles from her wrists. Flips up, does like kind of yoga posey whatever, and unlocks it with her feet. And I thought that was like like intentional or not, a clever little bit of subversion of what was happening in the first one, the original, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that from the first one.
When they first encounter her in the cells, when you're introduced to her, she's like got like sashes hanging from the thing. She's doing that weird like aerial yoga stuff.
I do. And now
you better not think she.
Hey John, let me really sincerely thank you for reminding me of scenes from the original Suicide Squad that I had forgotten.
Yeah,
I literally never would have gotten back to my head.
This haunts my brain. I can't go down alone.
I like that escape. I think it's badass. It's not part of the movie we're watching.
Exactly. And honestly, like, the flower stuff looks kind of cool, but I don't, because it's so separate from everything else, it doesn't work for me. It feels like, and on one hand, I do appreciate that, like, well, let's just do something weird here. That could be fun. But by that point, I'm really invested in the other half of this movie. So this is irritating to me. Like, I'm like, you're trying to make me care about this. You're trying to make this more interesting than it is. You could just not have this be in the movie, but you chose to, and now it feels like you're backpedaling. You're trying real hard to make this good.
Yeah, and she's breaking out to Frank D'Angelo's "Just a Gigolo," which is weird because there's no vampires in this movie.
No,
you don't
it's
put
weird.
Just a Gigolo in a movie that's
yeah. No, that like I hate that because it's a fine song, but immediately I hear it, I'm like, fucking Sicilian vampire Frank D'Angelo.
Yeah.
Particularly Michael Pare in the back going, gigolo, gigolo, gigolo.
Yeah, God. Yep. So they get out, and here's a spot that I never thought this would happen. They're gonna break in and save her. They meet her, like in that fun little, and I actually do like that. It's a fun thing. It's in the context of an annoying scene. But anyway, they meet, and I think Margot Robbie plays it off really well. But Randall Flagg, no, Randall Flagg. What's his name?
The walking dude,
Captain Flagg, whatever.
Well,
she hugs him. She's like, "Oh my God, you're gonna save me!" And he soothes her by holding his gun and just rubbing his gun on her back. Joel Kinnaman, I actually have enjoyed in a couple of things. I thought he was terrific in Altered Carbon. I think he's a wood doll in most of this, and the original one exponentially worse. But there's chemistry there between him and Margot Robbie, which is part of the reason I'm glad she's in this movie, because their interactions play it off as, oh, we've been through all this shit before. Right. They've got a lot of looking at each other like, oh, this is our second tour. Don't even.
But it doesn't ascend past like coworkers.
No,
like that's not a love interest thing. It's exactly that. It's like, oh, one of these, okay.
Yeah, like there's a couple spots where it's like, if they were drunk, they'd probably fuck. But they're not trying to build something there. And it made me like Flagg and made him like it gave him something. And then because
he's a nothing character.
Spoiler alert: he gets killed in this movie it actually added weight to it because it's like, oh no, he had a thing with Margot Robbie earlier. Yeah.
See, I didn't care.
No,
But
like,
I understand what you're
John,
saying.
John, back it up. You very much overstated how much you care there. I meant from the wet cardboard he was in the first movie to, oh look, he's an animated person that can say words. I'm sad he's dead. Like that's, I mean, it's barely.
But that's but I think that's the part of the problem with this movie is like when that scene happens, like John Cena apparently feels bad about it, or at least the movie makes you think that John Cena feels bad about it, or at least is questioning his role when no, he isn't. He's a psychopath. You've established he's a psychopath. You did this murder off thing. There's nothing special about what happened now. You find out that Amanda Waller told him, you got to get that shit. It doesn't matter what you do. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, I don't know. That felt so hollow and fake to me.
I'm not 100% disagreeing with you. But I think there were spots that I think he was playing off that he was like the I follow order style of thing, that there probably is like a depth to him under that. I'm not disagreeing, but I think I don't think it was as unearned as you're painting it. Although I'm not. I mean, it's still kind of unearned.
I just think when the movie tries to be emotional, it sucks at it.
Now let me run this by you. And I am someone that on the show has on multiple episodes used the word cumsies. Let me run by you the phrase.
What?
I love the rain. It's like angels are splooging all over us. How do you feel about that?
I hate it. I hate it.
But do you hate it for the reason that he wrote the line like that, or do you hate it?
Yeah. Well, I hate it. I hate it for like any number of reasons. I hate it that he wrote the line like that. Yeah. I hate it that that I have to hear Harley Quinn say it, because why is Harley Quinn in the movie? I hate that it's completely unnecessary. I hate that the movie isn't just getting on with it at this point by the time she says it. And it's just like, oh, I get it. Harley's wacky, huh? Yeah. Because I will say that there's absolutely funny bits in there, but like when I feel like when it really tries to be funny, particularly with dialogue and stuff like that, it sucks. Like that's my thing. Like King Shark fucking sucks.
Not good.
The only thing I liked is when he raises his hand in the debriefing and King Shark, and he's like, hand. That was the only like I'm a big dumb guy joke.
We're about to get to it. There's one other spot I liked him, but I'm with you. Especially you haven't seen the Harley Quinn cartoon. It's on HBO Max. Can't recommend it enough. I've heard nothing but good. I think it actually recommended it in one of the recommended things. But Ron Funches plays it, and it's a hilarious character. It's fun. It gets it, and this whiffs.
But and then later when I think it's the people in, when we haven't talked about this yet, the people in her office in Amanda Waller's office, I also have huge issues with, because it opens with them. You're first introduced to them. They're placing bets on who's going to die.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they have this change of heart and don't like the mission anymore for no reason. Like there's not a justifiable reason for why they would. I mean, you could argue that like, well, because it's affecting people that aren't the criminals. Because we don't give a shit. Like it's. I
think that's what they're going with.
Because it's a neat parallel to like how we'll send criminals to go fight fucking forest fires in California and pay them $1 an hour, and there's disposable workforce.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel earned to me. It felt like this weird thing, like you are just murdering these people for not murdering other people, and then all of a sudden when like something else going on, like we need to club our leader in the head, and the fact that she doesn't just murder them all out of after that.
That part, all right, let's swing around to that.
But what I was getting at with this before we forget that is there's the line when the Starro shows up when it's like, we got a fucking kaiju, where you just feel like this line's epic, bro. Like it's so fucking awful.
I had the one underlined.
Yeah.
Your sentiment is correct, but I do believe they at least paid lip service to why they had the change of heart. Because I think it was like they were going to kill kids or something. Like you're right as far as everything that, but like from a scripting editorial level, I think they actually did explain it. It's not deserved. It's also distracting because I think that one guy's the dude from Umbrella Academy that played like the. Did you watch that show?
No. Oh. I read the comic, but I don't.
The kind of time traveling cops. There's like that kind of time travel. There's like two of them that chase them around, and one of them's that guy in the show, and he's got a very distinct voice, and that's all I could think of. I'm like, no, sorry, you're just one of those guys that's now gonna, or he unfortunately has the same voice as that guy. The point is, I could do it, but the band's all together. They're rushing into the Jotunheim facility, which weird choice because that's where Loki's from. Is the frost giant place is Jotunheim?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
No. I mean, I know that's correct. I wasn't asking you, John.
Okay.
That's nerdy white guy shit that's often confused with white supremacy. That's my world.
Just lose the confusion part.
Yeah. I can't even begin to tell you how much I hate the modern world right now. Because, like, a lot of my friends have, like, Norse tattoos and stuff that, like, it was just nerdy, weird Lord of the Rings shit 20 years ago. And now it's, like, weird white supremacy stuff. It's like, oh, I feel really gross about all of... Anyway, so Jotunheim, weird...
Don't make me talk about Warhammer 40K.
Jotunheim, weird choice. But they're attacking the place. That's where the double shotgun blast happens. It's beautiful, some cool action sequences. I even like the Harley and the rain thing. It's dumb, but I like it. But, all right. King Shark ripping a dude in half as lightning hits. There's nothing more fuck yeah of a moment.
No, that's great. It was just when they try to be funny with King Shark, it sucks.
It reminds me of I know you didn't like it as much as I did, but in Thor Ragnarok, where they go, fuck it, we're going for it. They're on a rainbow bridge. They're blasting fucking Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, and he's just smashing lightning and killing dudes. It's like, this is like the coolest scene that's ever happened in history. No, unfortunately, the rest of the movie, who gives a shit? But in just let's just watch 30 seconds of like, that's just fuck yeah. King Shark bringing dude.
That's what you were making. This was the movie you were trying to make, and it rules.
So they go there. They find out about Project Starfish, and they call him Starro.
It's basically just like that. That's insulting. That he meant that to be insulting, and I like that little.
Well, so Peter Capaldi saying Starro about an alien kind of fish-like creature that there's a whole bunch of them. They act in group. That doesn't ring a bell.
It's U.S. fighting communism.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. John, it's me. Why would it make a fucking spark point? No, that's the Daleks inside of them are little squid creatures from the planet Skaro, and they act in one giant unit in one.
But I think Peter Capaldi predates. Technically,
very possible. The point is, the movie's made in 2021 with the one doctor away from the current one.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people in my nerd place going, "Oh, this is weird to hear him say that." Like,
well, it's funny because coming at it from another way, because when he's giving the whole lecture about like how dirty U.S. politics is like that, he's in full Malcolm Tucker from In the Loop in the thick of it mode, and that's where I'm like, "Oh my god, hooray! It's Malcolm Tucker." So I kind of have that same thing, but from a much cooler perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. The stuff I didn't watch. I just look, unless there's time travel involved, I ain't gonna.
Yeah. Why bother? Oh, can I say something real quick? Going back to
you can't.
To the beginning. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I mean, you do have literally first billing on the show. You could just talk.
It's alphabetical.
Yeah.
I mean,
which alphabet?
Cyrillic.
In Dvorak, it's.
And I don't remember correctly. Was the thing with not Deadshot that he could turn anything into a weapon, or is he was just like good at killing with a bunch of different stuff?
I think that was hyperbole. I think they mean like literally like, oh, I could pick up this pin on my table and that could be a deadly weapon. Yeah.
Well, I
think that's what they meant.
His gun is really stupid.
He's got this weird modular future gun, which maybe that's from the comics, but it didn't.
It seems like it takes a long time to put together when you could just shoot a guy.
Yeah, not a fan. I liked in the beginning. Right when they're going into the killing contest, where he's got that kind of like wrist rocket that's kind of built into his hand, that's badass. His gun thing was weird, and then like him running out of like bullets kind of at the end, where it's like, I mean, I get that dramatically that works, but that kind of only works when I know what is a gun. Like, I mean, like you're just like, oh no, I can't pull off this part of my clothing and turn it into
another part of my gun.
So all right, Starro gets loose. This is during the not Idris Elba versus John Cena fight. I love when that fight starts. You're seeing it reflected in a helmet that's on the floor.
Yes.
Beautiful little bit of like
yeah. But in again back to the Peter Capaldi thing, I like that because he brings up that he's like, no, you guys aren't here to. Basically, their mission is actually like the U.S. found this thing. Those are American astronauts that found Starro and did the stuff. And they kind of there's a couple of lines that tried to like the leader of the resistance is like, you Americans come in here with gun blazing, and Peter Capaldi's like, you Americans are too squeamish to do this stuff at home. No, this was clearly calculated to no, we're having you experiment on these brown people because we don't fucking give a shit because we're America. And then the Suicide Squad sent in to go like basically to get that information and give it back to the U.S. And it's pretty surprising for me with Flag is that I don't remember the first one well enough, but I'm pretty sure Amanda Waller screws them over in the first one too. So the fact that he's like, I mean, I remember well, but I just remember being like, wait a minute, doesn't this like old hat for him now? That this is because he's like, I'm sick of being their puppet. It's like this, you have been. This is what your job is.
I don't remember the first one either, but
Yeah.
I feel like the first one, I thought it was they decided to go off book to stop.
Yeah, I don't fully.
Okay, wait,
remember
who
it,
gives a
so,
shit?
Yeah,
All right, so the fight between Peacemaker, John Cena, and Idris Elba is great.
right. Well, because
you know that Cena guy, he's good. He should be like a professional wrestler or something.
he should be. Yeah, he's got a good build for it.
Yeah.
But this happens because all the data from the experiments. Flag has been like, well, I'm going to take this and give this to the press and get the truth out. And Cena's like, nope, Amanda Waller worked it out with me that I got to kill you. This has got to go right back into her hands. And they have a fight, kills Flag in the process. And then...
what I like about that, though, is they do the cut into the body and see his heart get pierced. Because he's going, this is not a comic book moment. Your heart just got stabbed with a knife.
Yeah,
no, obviously it's a comic book, he can come back. But the fact is, like, James Gunn went out of his way in much like a Star Wars Episode 8 way of, no, I'm gonna put my thing in, and then you're gonna have to
no question.
You're gonna have to make a fucked up movie to fix what I just did.
and I don't have an answer for this, but this is part of my problem with the movie being so long because like this was another point where I'm like, oh my god, there's still more movie after this because I haven't even gotten to Starro.
Yeah.
Is that this whole fight scene happens and then it like flashes back to here's what
I thought that was funny. The 8 minutes earlier flashback. Yeah. Well, because he's about to stab Ratcatcher Chew.
Right.
And then they go 8 minutes later. I thought that was a fun joke.
If there was this, because at that point, like I kind of want the movie to get on with it because I do feel like it's a little bloated and long, but I don't think you could cross cut it. I think you needed that like, well, here's how Idris Elba ends up in this because
totally.
The whole thing is like the whole fight happens because they're setting some explosions and the explosions go off too early because they're attacked. Polka Dot Man's carrying all these explosives in a bag. He drops the bag, and then later when fighting the bad guys, he shoots them with his polka dots and then sets them off. Whatever. But before that, we get a very irritating scene about Milton.
I thought that was funny.
Again, like it is. God damn it, movie, get going! Like I'm so tired, and like, and it's also like I don't like Harley Quinn that much. Where I'm like, this is this weird Looney Tunes character that is bringing this element of wackiness to it that like is different from everything that's normally there.
Yeah,
and I'm not ready for this now. Like I was happy with the tone of the movie here. I don't need this.
I thought it was a funny joke, and then the payoff later.
I see. No, I didn't buy it.
Where she called, I forget who does she call Milton?
She calls Bloodsport.
Yeah. Calls him Milton. I found that funny.
I think it's just because I don't like Harley Quinn. I'm like, are you stupid now? Like, I don't understand your character at all. Like, I don't. Yeah, that's just stupid. That's not like I'm crazy. That is, well,
as someone that has like almost no name recall, I just found it funny. I'm like, yeah, I know this feeling really well.
Yeah.
So in the 8 minutes earlier section, King Shark has like the Steve Zissou moment where he's seeing these technicolor kind of fish thing. And like, this is odd for the movie. And because I'm an idiot, I didn't see it coming. Those things turned fucking feral on him. And I found that to be a funny moment of just
again, for me, like, and you're not wrong. Like, yes, it's a funny moment, but for me, it's just like, why are we wasting time with this now? Like, things are in motion. Why don't we pay attention to things are in motion? I don't like but again, it's like, I don't like King Shark. I don't care what King Shark is up to. Is this going to pay off in any way? And it sort of does, but like, of course they were evil. Like, there's so many things that are like telegraphed, like particularly like the death of Polka Dot Man at the end, where it's like, yep, this is going to happen. Oh, look, it happened.
Yeah.
Some of that like subversion stuff gets a little old.
Well, yes. I like the end of the 8 minute thing because you see why he's falling through the floor and then end up crushing the dude. Like, that was like a fun I think narrative. And then Idris Elba winning the fight against John Cena because he actually has a tiny bullet that shoots through the bullet. Just terrific.
It was fun.
What dumb writing.
It was a dumb payoff. I loved it though. It was great.
Because there's nothing that's going to win me over more than paying off something stupid from the first act that I didn't even notice was there.
Yeah.
You know, that Chekhov's tiny gun. Like, it's so much fun. And this enters the Suicide Squad versus...
just that he's doing it to save Ratcatcher. Like, Idris Elba drops in there with no understanding of what's going on and sees that John Cena's about to kill Ratcatcher, and it's like, well, I got to side with Ratcatcher.
Yeah, well, they bonded earlier. That's fine.
That's true. Yeah, because they have the whole... I will say, I don't think they pushed this too hard. It's her control over the rats makes the rats like do cute things like wave or whatever. They could have gone so much harder than that than they did, and I'm glad they didn't.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They didn't get too schmaltzy with it.
No, I felt them bonding actually wasn't too like forced. Like that actually
No,
felt like a
I
that
will
felt like a real
absolutely give you
thing.
that
Yeah.
for like, and really, like I said, I
And
don't like that
I
character.
also
I
love
thought that was fine.
that he said you remind me of my daughter, my daughter. Because it being a Hollywood movie, him being a handsome 50-something-year-old and her being a very attractive 20-something, of course they would fuck in movie logic.
Right.
But like James Gunn actually used like real life human logic of like, you are my daughter's age. Like
Yeah.
him immediately, I was like, oh, that's
A more paternal thing,
it's just
yeah.
nice that didn't get to like, you know, later Bruce Willis movies. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
I like that it's Suicide Squad versus Star the Conqueror. Again, we're watching a comic book movie, and I want that's what I want. And then, John, if I may agree with you here, Mike, I'm going to read from my file. We've got a freaking kaiju up in this shit, and I quote, I'm kind of done with this.
Yeah.
That guy, that was literally the, yeah, all right, I'm kind of, yeah, it's like, because this movie is too long, and I tried because I like. It kept giving me a little bit more energy to keep it going. I had these little energy pills, just a little energy, and then at this point I was like, "Oh boy, I just."
It's like, how are you so effortless with some of this other stuff, and then you just like hit a wrong note like that so hard?
Yeah.
You solo with a fart into a microphone. Like, how do you do that?
Right.
I think that's what I found more annoying about it. If it was consistently that awful, it'd be like, yeah, that's a bummer. But like, no, this has been kind of fun. And then when it hits the wrong note, it really hits the wrong note.
This is about the techs rebel against Waller to try to keep her from blowing up the entire squad, which we already talked about. There's a terrific moment between Idris Elba and the Polka Dot Man, where he's like, you know who that is? That's your mom.
Right.
And
yeah.
you see the kaiju turn into a giant mom,
Yeah.
which is really just, I wasn't expecting that to happen in this movie.
Well, and then when he starts shooting it with the with his polka dots,
Yeah.
like it's just tearing away the flesh at the ankle, and it's gnarly as hell.
It's really good. And then just Polka Dot Man, this guy that we've kind of fallen for and is on his team. We know why he's there. We know his pain. Just squash. Just done. Donezo. And did nothing. Like that leg's going to grow back real quick. It's Starfish. They're literally famous for that.
Yeah. And I do like though, and this was something we complained about in the first one, how like basically Enchantress's power, the big bad guy's power was to basically make cannon fodder for them to just destroy. And while Starro does make a bunch of like other smaller Starros to turn them into this like unified thought thing, they don't just spend a whole bunch of time like mowing down these people.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? And I thought like for a movie about like psychotics or whatever, I thought that was it was a choice that made sense, not in that like, well, they're heroes now, or they actually care about these people, but it just, Ratcatcher shows up and does her rat thing, and that's it.
There's also a small point here where I think it helps with the mowing down innocent bystanders, where in the one with the original one where the magician lady is mind controlling people and they're getting killed. This one is in this movie, their faces are gone.
Yeah.
Like Starro attaching to them is a destructive thing.
Yeah.
In the first movie, if Enchantress is gone, they just go back to being a person. In this movie, they don't have a face anymore, and probably most of their nerve endings are gone. There's a bit of a...
But do they, because I thought some came back at the end. I could be wrong about that.
I only remember anytime the thing came off, their face was gone.
Yeah, I just remember, because I know with a forcible removal of it, but I don't remember.
I could be wrong about
I honestly don't remember. Like,
also, and I kind of like how quickly they wrap this up. As much as I'm in love with Ratcatcher 2, and she's my favorite person ever, and I want to hug her and kiss her and make her my wife, this city is theirs. About our rats was...
So, this city is theirs.
That was a little oof.
The things I'm going to mind control and to fight the mind control thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Also, the flashback with Taika Waititi, go fuck yourself with that. The whole like, oh, why the rats? Because they're the least among us, and they serve a purpose. What does that have to do with the rest of the fucking movie at all? Because these are not the least among us. These are super villains.
Yeah.
These aren't just like, oh, we're trying our best against the supervillain. You guys are multi-powered, funded by, you're flown here by the fucking U.S. military or whatever you want to call it. No,
you're right.
Don't pretend. And then it's like, well, oh, but look at this big expanse. They're sitting on the roof of something, and look at this. What the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah.
What do I care about any of this? What's happening right now? Like, you're really trying to force me to care, and it's not working because there's nothing to hold on to there.
Small thing I want to compliment the movie on. The end of the movie, Ratcatcher 2 goes up to hug King Shark.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because this is James Gunn, I was very much expecting her to get chomped in half.
Sure, yeah.
And they didn't do it. Now, that I think I would have been fine with that, like, because like but it's a little too expected.
Yeah.
That's where I at least I thought we were going, or they'd make a joke out of it, but it's just an actual genuine moment.
Actually, you know what? King Shark has the most genuine growth in this thing. Because he's like, I don't have friends. I don't know what friends. He's like too dumb to figure out what friends are. And they're like, we're your friends. Oh, okay. And then, like, so he's looking for them for advice later. That all makes sense. But some of the other, like, just that, like, caring that other people.
The other growth moment, and it was telegraphed in the front, but I liked how it ended. Was Idris Elba getting over his fear of rats, where he kind of starts hanging out with Simon or whatever, her lead rat buddy. Because that's like a really cute rat, and he's just like, fuck, and he's like, all right, this is fine. Like, just what? It's a stupid bit of, but good.
It was fine.
You did your job.
Yeah.
You made an arc.
Because when they're gonna go fight Starro, like, they're going off the reservation for, Amanda Waller's like, no, you got to just get me the fucking files or whatever. I don't care about.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about how they were running around with a hard drive that came out of like a fucking reel-to-reel player.
Yeah, that somehow not Deadshot has time to upload to a server in the midst of all this. Whatever, doesn't matter. But that's when Amanda Waller's team turns on her and like clocks her in the back of the head. And they're like, no, we're not going to blow them up. We're going to like fight for the side of justice. And it just felt like such a hollow flippant thing to me. And particularly when she comes back later and it's just like, all right, you guys.
Well, I think they understood that she was trying to get Project Starro back into the United States, which seems, I'd be pretty against
But just
that,
what you talk about bringing extra-textual stuff to it. What I know about Amanda Waller, it just seems like, and they bring it up at the after credit sequence with Peacemaker, but about how like this is punishment, but in the first movie, when she just like guns people down for not having the right security clearance, it seems a little weird to have her be like, well, okay.
Yeah.
But again, is this a sequel? Is this a soft reboot? I don't know.
Soft reboot. I think it's technically a sequel, soft reboot. The movie ends, so it shows Weasel wakes back up, which, I mean, I don't think anybody saw coming, right?
I don't care.
No, but John, you didn't see it coming, right?
I didn't see it coming because in the same way that I don't see
I thought that's the most obvious
win.
shit of the universe. Yeah.
No, see, I didn't think about it because I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's Jets football to me. I don't give a shit about what happens to it. Like,
John, he saved every one of us.
Well, no, not that one though. That's
different Jets football. Yeah.
Because
he was a quarterback for the Jets.
Yeah. That's I'm talking about like the '93 Jets.
Oh, okay. Boomer Esiason?
The very same.
If that turns out to be the quarterback for the '93 Jets, I deserve like so many presents.
I don't think he was. No.
I know he was a quarterback, and I think he threw for the Jets.
I know he was a football player.
He may be the Giants. I don't know. Who gives a shit?
But whatever. But the point is like,
I'm great at sports.
Like, hooray, Weasel's back.
No, I don't care. I was just making fun of it. It's stupid. Yeah.
The thing I like, and this is dumb. But so you're seeing the what's been going on in Corto Maltese on TV, and turns out it's Blood Pool's daughter watching it. And she's like, that's my dad. And, oh, look at that. Some footage got out. And then they interview the rebels. They're like, now we're going to have the first free elections because that's what people care about right now. This giant alien starfish. Like, what's their electoral process going to be after this? I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, that's just like technically they're heroes. They just blew up a giant starfish. It's fine. Let it be that.
It's a cartoon. It's a cartoon movie, a comic book movie.
But that's part of the problem. It's like but it wants to be this huge bloody thing too. Like, don't be that stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Be a kid's movie or don't.
And then I assume you stayed for the after credit sequence.
Yes.
Yeah. So it turned out John Cena is alive.
Well, I think I heard they wanted to do like a TV spinoff or something with him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it is. It's already being filmed. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Peacemaker.
Which is interesting because this is not doing that great. Its first weekend is so far they've made like $3 million more than Mortal Kombat.
But that's box office, and with Delta coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if HBO Max. I mean, they got $15 for me for HBO Max.
There's a lot of different factors. I don't think there's one specific thing. I think I do wonder about like the confusion of like I thought the Suicide Squad came out already.
I actually heard the original Suicide Squad was one of the top watched movies on HBO Max this weekend.
Yeah.
And who knows how much there's people revisiting or who got
just
confused.
Like who cares, or like who started watching. I don't know how these things watches because like I know that was a big thing with Black Widow too, is that didn't do as well as people would have liked. And I do want there to be a space for if there's going to be R-rated comic movies to make them like this. You know what I mean? To be like that, this wild with them. As much as I didn't like about this movie, I like that it's there. And I hope that it would be like this freedom for artists to do this kind of like, well, yeah, we're doing a comic movie, but let's be gross and weird with it because that's a lot of comic books.
Yeah.
Not every comic book is the most serious thing ever or any good. Like, let's just do a bunch of just goofy shit.
Yeah, I think it might happen. I mean, with Invincible, it seems to be quite popular. They signed that up for a few
it's
more
not
seasons.
like, it's not like
you know,
comic book movies are going away,
Yeah.
but it's just like I would hope they're not.
no, but leaning that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not just the hyper 4-quadrant focused Marvel stuff
Yeah.
that you can still have space for this kind of thing.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It's one of those movies that I want to rewatch while doing something else. Like it seems like one of those movies that like I wish TV were still the way it used to be when we were coming up, where it's on, I'll just leave this on my TV and then look up every night. Oh, it's this scene.
Yeah.
Like just it's not what I'm doing right now. It just happens to be there. You know, it's because I think there's when it hits real well.
Yeah.
And I think watching it a second time, knowing what you could fast forward would make this a much better movie.
Yeah. I would say watch Punisher Warzone. I think this is fine, but for my money, if I want to watch a gory comic book movie, I'll stick with Punisher Warzone.
I don't think Punisher Warzone it's not as gory. It's not gory enough for me. It's not fun gory. I enjoyed that movie. But it didn't get to that fun, hilarious, Takeshi Miike style gore. Where it's
the valleys in this are too deep for me. Like I think it's got amazing peaks and it's fun, but like there's just too much of it that's way too dumb. I did get super excited though, by the way. No one will enjoy this, but
keep in mind it's going in because there's going to be no editing.
The group of generals that are like part of the coup or whatever. One of them, right before I think maybe I don't remember if it's Harley that guns them down or whatever, but one of the generals is this actor who's an Assassin 33 AD, which is a movie about this guy invents a time machine. And terrorists use it to go back in time to try to murder Jesus to prevent Christianity from happening.
Well, you wouldn't do that in 33 AD. That's when he got killed.
Yeah, but
do it in 30.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Do it in 26.
It's a bad movie. But he was the head
but that's
terrorist
like really
guy.
dumb.
Yeah, the whole movie's really, really dumb.
Wow.
But I was very excited to see him, and like my face just lit up because I was like, "Oh, Assassin 33 AD," which is not a good sign when I'm excited about Assassin 33 AD while watching your movie.
All right, so Suicide Squad, we did it, we watched it.
Yep. Watch it or no, whatever, it's up to you.
This is an example of a bonus episode. There are many of them available on my Patreon. So patreon.com/AlexBollen, ALEXXBOLLEN. It's kind of the beginning of the month, so you should sign up, download everything, and then cancel, and you can like have all that stuff. Like every book I've ever written is up there in PDF form. Just throwing it out there. It's I make enough of that to pay for our server fees. So like there's this isn't me being or trying to like make anything of this. I want to share the stuff we create, and it's there. It exists. You should go check it out.
It's the cost of a beer, like or whatever, or a fudge sickle. I don't know what that. How much could a banana cost, Michael?
So do that. We're at JawsPod on Twitter, John Oxford Stuff on Facebook. And that's it. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.